Okay.
Another wonderful podcast with Joe Sigurton, that is. He is co-founder and chief success officer at Boyz II Men Mentoring Network. I had Arnie Rubenstein on the pod. I think that was last week. I met Arnie in person here in Oaxaca, and we talk about one of my favorite topics, which is rites of passage. For those that follow me, you know that I've gone through various of these. And meeting Arnie, I realized that this was the beginning of my journey, very much. I'm proud to have Joe Sigurton on the pod today to continue talking about that topic. And just the pre-interview, pre-podcast was quite enlightening, and it's a cause that's really near my heart. So really glad to have you on, Joe. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about Boyz II Men Mentoring Network.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Charles. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so Boyz II Men Mentoring is an in-school group mentoring program. The schools have found so much value in having us be a part of their culture and their community that they think it's worth it to pull boys out of class for an hour a week to sit in a Boyz II Men circle. So we have paid staff, we have trained facilitators, and we have volunteer mentors. And so we send teams of mentors into the schools on a weekly basis to sit in circles with young men that are struggling, and we introduce real life topics. We talk about divorce, we talk about abuse, we talk about abandonment, gangs, drugs, girls,
Sexuality,
boys. Yeah, I mean, life, and the way we do this is the men will share a story about what happened to them, what happened to us when we were their age, how we felt, the choices that we made from those feelings, and the price we paid for some of those choices. And so when the boys hear the men being, authentic and vulnerable, it creates a liminal place of safety and transformation, and they feel, safe and trusted. And then they open up and they talk about, what's happening to them, like right now, and how they're feeling, and the choices they're making. And our job is to meet them right where they are, to not judge any of it, but just ask them open-ended questions like, how is that working? Is this what you want? If we could wave a magic wand over this situation, what would you want different? And what are you willing to do? And so when they're identifying, what they really want, and they're making a choice to move towards that, our job is to offer them support and accountability in these new choices. A typical scenario is a lot of them are ashamed of the way they treat their moms. Mom is that safe dumping ground for all that transference of anger. They may be angry at maybe a dad that is maybe a mythical character to them. They may have never met their dad, or to a teacher or a coach or a friend, and it's not safe to come at that straight, so it gets transferred on to mom, and they know their moms don't deserve some of the stuff that is they're laying on them. So they'll talk about making a better relationship with their mom and say, okay, great. What do you want to do about that? What's one thing you can do this week to move towards building this relationship? And I said, well, I will ask her how her day went. Great. Okay. Brandon's made this choice to ask his mom how her day went. Who's willing to support Brandon in this new choice? Charles, you put your hand up. Brandon, today is Tuesday. I'm going to text you on Thursday to see if you've, asked your mom how her day went. So we set up the support during the week, and sure enough, you send Brandon a text on Thursday. Brandon sees it. Oh, thank you. No, I haven't done that. I'll do that, and then the following Tuesday, we do a round of accountability, for these guys. Say, so Brandon, you said you wanted a better relationship with your mom. You said you were going to ask her how her day went. Did you do that? Yes. Well, great. Tell us how that worked. Did you do that? No. Great. Tell us how that worked, and we're not there to judge anything they're doing. We're just there to, well, what kind of a man do you want to be this week, Brandon? And so week by week, they're getting rid of secrets. They're making new choices. They're getting support and accountability around those choices. and they, what happens is they start feeling better about themselves. And, when they feel better, they do better. We're tracking the metrics. We know their GPA goes up 1.25 grades. We know their attendance goes up. But the biggest thing we see, Charles, is we see this dramatic drop off in discipline issues, because they've got this like weekly pressure release valve where they're being, honored for their courage, validated for their feelings, and supported in new choices. So we use these circles as like to do the groundwork on the things that they need to do, that they know they need to do to be the men they want to be. And when a kid's identified some of the blocks, beliefs, traumas that are sabotaging him, and he's taken some steps towards resolution around those things, we invite them up we have a 16-acre ranch 70 miles outside of San Diego, and we take them up there for a 3-day Rites of Passage weekend. We call it our Adventure Mountain Weekend. And this is where we take a deep dive into the groundwork they've done, and where they can really take a serious look at what's working and what's not working in their lives, and figure out what they're willing to do about it.
Wow, Joe. Thank you for your service to society. That's one. Two, I had these issues. If only I would have had some kind of outlet. And that leads to my next question, because primary school was like easy for me, right? I was the popular kid.
Yeah.
Everything was doing fine. Then high school hit. So I was a fish in a bigger pond, and I was smaller than the other kid. I had my puberty later. I wasn't the popular kid anymore, but I was still getting into trouble. So that's always been like a theme in my life, right? So I was getting into trouble, and I didn't have much love. So the result was that I became reclusive and so forth in video games, and later on went to party and so forth. It's not all negative. There's positive in there. I think these were also rites of passage, right? Like being the number one player in my server in the video games I was playing, being very good at partying and so forth. But I sometimes reflect on my past, and I was like, I wish I could have done something better. And I think I'm getting an answer with what you and Arnie are doing. And I want to invest in you guys, and then my time, my money, my energy, and to make a difference, right? Because what are the causes that can motivate a human? It's often what happened to them, and can I make this different for others? That's the beautiful things about humans. If you are driven by your heart, and if you are diving deep in your past and understanding how you can avoid suffering in others, then makes stuff better. But the question I had for you is, what about high school? Because it seems that the kids are quite young that you're coaching. Do you also do some high school stuff? Because to me, it's where the water became really tumultuous, and in which bad things could have happened during that period.
Yeah, so we do see middle school as the sweet spot, and all of our research and tells us that we're spot on in this, that at 13, 14, 15, they're making the decisions that are creating the trajectory, right? And if you've got a group of caring men that are showing up in your life consistently and asking you what you want and what you're willing to do, and bringing you back onto your own true north, keeping you on course. You get a 12-year-old that gets a couple of degrees off course, and you play that out for 15 years. He's in another universe. He doesn't recognize himself, but you keep bringing that guy back to, the kind of guy he wants to be, and what's important to him, and remind him of his, core values and that kind of stuff. We're building like this emotional toolbox. We're raising their emotional quotient in our circles, so that when they do go into high school, they have a greater capacity for navigating, the choices, the challenges, the temptations, the peer pressure, all that. They have a better sense of themselves, a better self-awareness, and know what's important to them, so that they can make healthier, clearer choices in high school. And yes, we do track them through high school. We have we have open community groups here in San Diego where if we have programs in high schools, but if a kid finishes his middle school and graduates to high school and we don't have a Boys to Men program in that high school, they can come to one of our open community groups and continue their journey with Boys to Men. And we have a lot of kids, and we have transportation. We send the vans out to the actual middle schools, and the kids meet there, and we pick them up and we bring them back, and we have a meeting room here in our office, and we bring in dinner, and we feed the boys, and we do our community groups here, and they get pretty big, and sometimes we have to split them because we'll maybe have 30 kids, and 20 mentors. We'll have 50 people and so we run a couple of groups. So it is a journey from boy to man, and the way we keep those guys engaged too is if they, like I said, they finish their rites of passage, they get initiated, they get one of these, they get a talisman that marks them as a journeyman. They're not men, but they're on their journey to be the men they want to be. And then what happens is they get to come back up to the ranch, and they become part of the staff, and they go from the initiate to the initiator, from the student to the teacher, and they get to re-experience the whole process, reintegrate all their own commitments to themselves again. So our high school guys are our leaders on those weekends. So we may not, they may get a little distance from the weekly groups, but we're running 5 of these trainings a year. We call them and say, hey man, we need some leadership on this weekend. Will you come help us initiate another 15 boys, and so there's a way to keep them engaged, and then, of course, the ones that really have a propensity to the work, we offer them an internship. And then oftentimes after their internship, we hire them and they become one of our group facilitators. We've had dozens of boys that we've hired, and their first jobs out of high school is a group facilitator in Boys to Men.
Love it, man. That's beautiful. I had my internship program as well to convert. My fight is like 9 to 5 to entrepreneurs. I think there's 2 main systems that are broken and 2 are interrelated, which could add value to that discussion. Sometimes when I'm trying to avoid the suffering of to other boys that I lived in the past, I'm like, this educational system, it was meant, it was setting me up for failure, right? So what do I mean by that? First, I always had an ADHD brain, was very smart, had really good grade at school until it came time to study for real, and that was in high school. So my grades also began to fall during that time. And I wasn't the smart kid anymore, which also was another blow to my ego. But that being said, I always had a brain to build things, to be creative. And most likely, I think it's important that the youth makes money as quick as possible, that they start their own venture. Why put someone in a class and tell them to sit and wait for 8 hours, especially when that kid had sugar in the morning and didn't do physical activity yet? What is that going to create? Mass chaos. It's like, I have puppies now. If I put this puppy alone in a room, he's going to wreck the total room, So I think this sets us up for failure. I also think that the 9 to 5, which the educational system is meant to throw us in, is also needs a reform, and I think that both systems are meant to diminish testosterone and what it means to be a man, aka following orders from someone that doesn't really want to be there or don't really know what to do, whether that is a teacher or a boss. What is your opinion on these topics? Do you think these are somewhat the root cause?
Well, we certainly are in what is seemingly arcane educational system, especially when it comes to boys. You're right. Boys need think differently, operate differently, need a level of engagement. They don't mature as quickly as girls. And so they're a little more antsy, and and the way that we handle is we punish them or we medicate them, and because they're not complying to a system of education that, you know, probably needs to be revamped. And you know, the evidence is that the schools actually pull kids out of class for an hour a week to sit with us, and you know, the validation and the affirmation and the praise that they receive from the elders in the community. You know, look, a lot of our kids are struggling because they don't have a dad. They don't have a role model. You know, they don't have anyone to push up against, right? Or to push back, you know, and so when you don't have any of that, and then this group shows up and says, "Hey man, I really like your haircut. You're looking sharp today." And nobody's ever said that to him in his entire life, you know, like it's like, "Oh wow," you know, or, "Hey, where'd you get those kicks? I love those. I love your shoes, man." And just those simple things that, you know, we're training our mentors, you know, to listen, accept, and encourage. And part of that encouragement is praise, you know, and you got to find something about this kid, even if it's like if he wants to share with you some rap lyrics that he wrote and they do not align with your core values or whatever you think is right or wrong, you got to find a way to put that aside, the projections and the judgments, and meet that kid and see the genius in him, you know, right, and praise that and acknowledge and honor that, you know. So you know, the schools aren't designed to do that. They're there to, you know, be disciplinary, to be, you know, correct behavior. And, you know, what's so funny, you know, Charles, is like some of the trauma that these guys have experienced, some of the things that they have to navigate in their lives. You know, the schools have no idea, and they think their solution is to punish them by suspending them, or they think they can actually punish them, and they have no idea what these guys have been up against, you know. And the idea of the schools punishing compared to what life has done to them is a joke.
Dude, my brain is exploding right now with insights. You know, like I have these puppies, right? And I caught myself being very authoritarian lately. I had 8 of them, and it's like always punishment, right? Punishment. Why am I that way, you know? Why am I that way? Oh, my parents were somewhat that way. Not that much, but they were. Where did my parents take that? From their parents. Where did their parents take that? From the educational system, from the government. And that's so true. I mean, it's punishment. Where's the reward in all of that? And also, where's the empathy? You know, where's looking at this kid's life and understanding that, yeah, his dad is not there too much and his mom is really stressed out, you know? And I also like really much understood the part you were saying that of putting the stress against the mom. I was guilty of that also. Yeah, my brain is exploding. And obviously I want to continue this conversation. This is round 1. Okay, we're gonna do a round 2, Joe. Okay. Where can people find out more about you until then?
Yeah, boystomen.org, boystomen.org. You know, we're doing this here in San Diego. Part of our mission from the beginning was to be an open source and share this information. As a result of that, we've got 13 other Boys to Men centers around the country here in the United States, and we've got centers in India and Germany and England and New Zealand and South Africa. So there are men around the world that are seeing the need for this nurturing, this level of responsibility to empower and raise the next generation, and do that in a good way with, you know, core values around honesty, integrity, accountability, self-responsibility, and that all has to be modeled from somebody. So if they're not getting it anywhere else in their lives, they can come to Boys to Men, where there's some core values in place that they can rely on and will be modeled and imparted to them.